Hey everybody, this is Mark, Killer Grub with Mark, and welcome to my kitchen. This is, I guess, probably my most requested video, period. I get more requests from people, especially people I know, friends and whatnot, and subscribers, to smoke a brisket. So I thought, what the heck? I went down and I bought a brisket. Unfortunately, all they had was flats. At my favorite market, carries good quality meat, and I was able to get this 9-pounder. And unfortunately, it is just a flat. But 9 pounds, it's premium Angus, and it is a nice cut of meat. And so I am going to go ahead and it's rare that you hear me say good evening, but it is definitely evening. It's probably, if I was to guess, I would say it's pretty close to 10 o'clock p.m. And the reason behind that is I'm going to prep this thing and I'm going to put it in the smoker on a low temp, and I'm going to smoke it all night while I'm sleeping, and hopefully tomorrow morning, if my timing and everything is right, it'll probably be about at the stall when I get up in the morning, and I'll be able to wrap it and put it back in there and bring it up to the proper temp and probe tenderness that it needs to be. And I'm going to walk you guys through how you trim a brisket. And we're not talking about competition trim, we're talking about trimming it for the backyard smoker. Okay, they're definitely two different beasts, and I'm going to walk you through how I trim it, how I prep it, and onto the smoker. So without further ado, let's not delay this any more than possible, because I would like to get to bed probably by about midnight. So let's get at it and get cooking, folks. All right, so first things first, all right? You've got this beautiful piece of meat, and it's inside of this sealed plastic bag. Don't cut the bag open on this side, so you're not cutting up, you know, the meat side of this. Go back here to the fat cap side and you know, give it a little slice here and open it up on this side, okay? You notice that I'm on my kitchen table. It's just easier than recording over there in the corner. But I got a towel around my cutting board. This literally is the biggest cutting board I have. One of these days, I'll actually buy a decent sized cutting board. All right, so lay your brisket out. First thing I do is just pat it down, kind of dry it off with paper towels, okay? Just get all the moisture off of it. That's all you're doing. Just so it's not so slippery and, you know, whatever. Okay. So you want to start, you literally want to start on the meat side of it. You want to start on the meat side here. So first thing you're going to do is you're just kind of, all this excess fat right here, all this stuff, and like these loose edges, see that? You're going to take all that off. All right, so just take your knife, and obviously this isn't a boning knife, which really is the knife of choice. I never really had a boning knife. I probably should invest in one, right? There's a couple things you're trying to accomplish here. One of them is you're trying to remove all this. Look, it's got a slice in it right there from the butcher. But you're trying to remove all this excess stuff here, and then you want to get rid of all this silver skin that's on here. Okay, see all this silver skin that's on here? I hope you can see that. And pull this back a little bit so it's a little bit more in view. But see that silver skin? You want to remove all that stuff too. And it helps to have a knife, a good sharp knife. And you want to, I know it doesn't matter that if it's pretty or not, but you really don't want to just gouge it all up, okay? And see this right here? You just want to run your knife kind of flat along there and remove all that excess fat right there. See it all coming off right there? Okay, there's still more to come off, but we'll get to it. But that's what your first goal is here. And please, knife safety, don't cut towards your hand. Okay, see how we're cutting all that stuff off right there? And don't worry, there's meat right there, but I'm gonna grind that up. I'll grind that up and make hamburger, or, you know, grind it up with some sausage, make sausage out of it. And then you're gonna see, like, I don't know if you can see this, but on this side right here, you see how this meat is a little darker right here than the rest? You wanna remove that, okay? Because that's just gonna get kind of hard and burnt and crispy in the smoker. So you wanna remove that too. And then you wanna remove all this. This is a pretty thick hunk of fat right here. You kind of wanna remove that, okay? So we'll get to all that, but let's work on this stuff first. So I'm gonna work on this right here, okay? Get that all out of there. You wanna get as much of this off as you can, really. I'm not a butcher. I'm not a professional knife person, or I don't know what you want to call it. I'm a pipeliner. I don't know if you know that, but I'm a pipeliner. I've been in the pipeline, natural gas pipeline and electric industry for 20 years. I'm a pipeliner. I'm not a butcher. I'm not a chef. See how this is how you want to do it though. Peel all that stuff off. And don't worry, none of this is going to go to waste. I mean, granted, I'm not going to use all that fat, but I'll use some of it. But you want to trim this down. Now remember, this was 9.9 pounds, I think, 9.9 pounds. It's not going to be 9 pounds when I'm done. But there's a reason behind it, okay? Because this stuff that I'm taking off, you don't want it on there. It's not going to taste good. It's not going to cook up right. Really, trimming this takes patience and time, okay? It'd probably help if I had the right knife. But this is like my favorite knife. I don't know why. I've had it for a long time. I love it. It fits in my hand. I like the weight. It's easy to sharpen. It holds an edge. So I like it. So I keep using it. A real butcher would have this job done in a matter of minutes. Where somebody like me takes us, you know, half an hour. I'm not going to show you the entire every step of this cutting, but I'm going to show you the basics. Okay, so let's get over here, because I'm cutting this. I'm going to cut all the way down this side, right here. You want a nice, clean. You want a nice clean edge. Okay, I'm going to cut this off as well. A lot of people who smoke briskets, they round them all off. They do all this interesting stuff, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but they cut a lot of meat off of the dog. I mean, a lot. See now this right here? I don't know if you can see that. Let me pick it up and show you. See this right here? That's all just huge, heavy fat right there. And we're gonna get rid of that, okay? Okay? We will get rid of that. All right? And wipe off my hand again, because I don't like holding my knife with a nucky hand. This right here, we're gonna cut that off. See how thin this is? How thin that is compared to that? All right, that is, when this is cooked to the perfect temperature, this is gonna be overcooked. All right, so there's nothing much you can do about that. This being thin and this being thick, but you can trim that off. You can trim part of that off, and we'll get to that. Okay, but I'm gonna cut this. I'm gonna cut this off right here. See all that fat? That's almost all fat. There's a little chunk of meat right there, and that's it. The rest of that was all fat. But that's what you want, is you don't want like a tapered off edge. You want a nice flat round edge, nice flat edge all the way around it. Okay? All right, and then I'm gonna cut this off right here. Oh man. Because there's just almost no meat right there. Almost none. Okay, so I'm gonna cut this section right here off. And I'll show you what I mean. Okay? This is all that's fat, and there's just a little thin layer of meat there, okay? But don't worry, that's not gonna go to waste. Okay, this is looking pretty good. All right, let's turn it over, and we'll address the fat cap. Now, right here, there is a huge amount of fat right here. You can see it? So I'm just gonna take my knife and run it right there. See, that's all 100% fat right there. Okay, and it's really hard fat. It's not, that fat is not gonna render in the smoker. All right, now I'm gonna trim this down right here. See, more just straight fat. I'm gonna trim that down. See, we have about a 1/4 inch. See, that's what we want. We want about a 1/4 inch. I'll explain one thing real quick. On a smoker, the way your heat is in a smoker, it's right in the middle and it's coming up from the bottom like this, right? It's not like spread out, and then your smoke is coming up, traveling across the meat, and across the meat like this, and then up and out the smoke stack. So smokers create and produce heat differently than a regular grill or even an offset smoker. So you want less fat, because they're not going to render the fat nearly as much as another kind of smoker or a regular charcoal grill. They're not going to render as much. So you don't want nearly as much fat on a brisket as you have, on a brisket that you're going to do in a smoker. I mean, you'll even if you Google, YouTube, whatever, and you watch all the different videos, especially if you watch a video that was done by a butcher, all right? They're gonna tell you, especially if they're a butcher that has a pellet smoker, they're gonna tell you that it's different and you need to trim more of the fat off of a brisket that you're gonna do in a smoker. Now, if I was doing this in my offset, I might leave a little bit more fat, because it renders much better in like a side box or a charcoal grill. It's going to render much better. Okay, and you see the difference in this fat right here and this fat right here. You see the difference? All right, I want to trim some of this down right here. I'm gonna flip it around. I'm gonna flip it around because I want to trim some of this right here. It really doesn't even matter if you take it almost right down to the meat, right? But you do want a certain amount of fat on there to render down because it's actually gonna help. It'll actually help keep your brisket moist. If you have too much fat, your rub, your seasoning is never gonna get to that meat. I'm gonna take a little bit more right here. That right there, that's a 1/4 inch thick. Right through here, a little bit more here. So I'll take a little bit more of this off, do a little bit more right here. Right here, this is in, I don't know what they call it. There's a name for that. Where that meat is, there's a name for this piece right here too. But it's thicker right there and I want that off because that won't render. It's like this is a flat, but it's almost like this is part of the point. I don't know. I'm not a butcher by any means, but it's almost like that's part of the point because that fat goes right into there. I might just cut that whole end off. We'll see. Okay, I'm getting to it. That's all fat. It's all fat right there. That's okay. All right. This part right here, literally, I don't know. Part of me tells me to cut it off. The other part of me tells me just leave it alone. But we'll see. Okay. But I think we're good. We got a 1/4 inch. I'm gonna slice this like here, like that. I think we're okay. I'll just take a little bit more of this right here. Okay, there we go. I think we're good. Nice piece of meat, okay? This is how it's gonna cook. It's gonna cook just like this, all right? I will cook this the fat side down. It's kind of what you wanna do with a pellet grill. Now look at how much we took off this. The bowl is full. All right, so now I'm gonna season it. One of the most popular ways to season a brisket, fresh ground pepper and kosher, coarse kosher salt. That's literally one of the most popular ways to season a brisket. I'm not going that route. I have before and it was amazing and delicious. But this time I am going to season it. I'm a big lover of cayenne pepper. Cayenne. All right, so you want to get your seasoning on there. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do cayenne and I'm going to do my favorite Kinder's brown sugar barbecue. Okay? This stuff tastes good on a flip-flop. But you want to get it up high. All right? A brisket is a big, thick cut of meat. Okay? You are not going to over season it. All right? You're not going to put too much rub on it. And don't rub it. Sprinkle it on. Just like I did. Just sprinkle it on and then just pat it. Okay? Because we're going to let this sit while we get the smoker ready. And while we get the smoker ready, it's going to start pulling. That salt in the rub is going to start pulling moisture, and it's all going to soak in. And once this gets all wet from sitting here, while I get the smoker ready, I'm gonna, before I put it on the smoker, I'm gonna put more rub on it. Okay, I'm just doing this so I can get it all on the edges, okay? Because you want it on the edges. You want every bit of this meat covered with rub. You know, or like I said, you know, salt and pepper. Salt and pepper is just, I'm telling you, some coarse kosher salt and some fresh cracked black pepper. You do about a 50-50, like pepper to salt, or like 3 parts pepper to 1 part salt, and put it on there. Oh, It's great. It's good. It's I mean, really good. I'm not kidding you. I will use probably 3/4 of this bottle on here. Okay, I got it on there everywhere. What I'm going to do is beef, unlike pork, okay, I'm going to put some cayenne. There we go, cayenne. But beef, unlike pork, you want to let the meat sit out and come to room temperature. Okay? I've had this out on the counter over there for about an hour. Okay? Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? It's a beautiful thing. Okay, so this is done, it's ready. This thing is ready for the smoker. Like I said, right before I put it in the smoker, I'm gonna put some more rub on it. Okay, I won't put any more cayenne, but I'll put more of the rub on right before I put it in the smoker. I'll just sprinkle some more on, and then I'll pat it down on both sides and around the edges, and boom, it's gonna go in the smoker. 200 degrees. My smoker, when I put it on 200 is when I get the best smoke, because that's the thing, is you want the most amount of smoke the first part of this cook as you can possibly get. So I'll put it on my smoke setting, which it'll run from about 190 to about 215. It'll run right in there, 190 to 215. It'll stay just like that. As far as the wood, I'm using a mixture of apple wood and mesquite. All right, I've been preparing my Pit Boss pellet smoker. Pit Boss. I am using a mixture of hickory and apple. I thought I had mesquite. I don't. I ran out of mesquite. I've got hickory and apple. I mixed up a little bit more hickory than apple in the first part of the smoke, and then on top of that, I've got about a 50-50 mixture of apple and hickory. So I'll have more hickory in the beginning of the smoke, and then it'll go to a 50-50 mixture. So as you can see, if you can look at it, it has, see how moist it is? The salt is drawing that moisture out, okay? And like I told you, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put some more rub on it, okay? So, and get that, because like I said, you really, I hate using this term, but you really can't over season it as far as your rub. You really can't. Because this is a very thick chunk of meat. Okay, all right, so there's the first side. Now look at all the juice underneath. Okay, now this is the side that's going to be up. Okay, we're going to be making some amazing bark with this. This is what's going to make that fantastic bark. Okay? Kind of a trick, you run your hand around the side like that, and actually the rub is on your hand, and then you press it onto your meat. Okay? But look at that. That, my friends, is gonna make some amazing bark. Right there. All right, it is ready. It is ready for the smoker. So next thing you'll see is me putting it on the smoker. All right, so let's get this. Let's get it on the smoker. It's sitting about 240 right now. It'll settle down. But that's fine. Okay. Got my temperature probes on there. Take the meat, lay it right down there in the middle, kind of well, you know what, I want to turn it around. I wanted this back section on this side, like that. More of the heat comes from this direction, so there we go. Temperature probes in there. Drop the lid down. And rock and roll. We'll be checking this thing out in about, I don't know, 8 hours. Sleep well, y'all. Good morning. Little update on the brisket. I put it on at 11:30 last night, and I ran it from 11:30 until about 5:30 this morning at about 180 degrees. And 5:30 this morning, got up and checked it. It was just starting to dry out just a little bit on the top. There was no puddling of juices or anything like that. So I sprayed it with my apple cider vinegar mixture, and I closed it down. I let it run for another hour and a half, and it did hit the stall. When I woke up this morning at 5:30, it was about 152 degrees internal temperature. It actually hit the stall at about 163 degrees. It hit the stall. It just sat there at 101. One probe was reading 163. The other one was reading 164. Sat there for about 45 minutes, something like that. And I knew it had hit the stall, so I didn't want to wrap it at 163 degrees. So what I did was I bumped my temperature up to 225, and I kind of pushed it through the stall. That's exactly where I am right now. It pushed through the stall. Still not wrapped yet. I haven't wrapped it yet. You know that I have one probe pushed in this side, and I have one probe pushed in this side, and they're sitting offset in the one from this side to this side into the middle like that. One of the things I love about the Pit Boss, this is the temperature right now. It's 169 on the run probe and 171 on the other. Only a 2-degree difference from this half of the brisket to this half, which is perfect. It's cooking very evenly. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna pull it off the smoker, and I'm gonna wrap it in the butcher paper. All right, we've reached temp. I don't know if you can see it, but there's my temp gauge. Got 201 on one, 204 on the other. It literally just went to 204. Go ahead and pull this off. I've got my cooler ready. Now, let's take our probe. Okay, what I'm gonna do is poke it through here. Wow. Not really feeling any resistance whatsoever. You want to take your probe, get it in there, and you want to probe different directions. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it out and I'm going to put it in the cooler. So here it is, it's in the cooler, and I just brought it in. You want to throw it in the cooler for at least 30 minutes.
I would suggest an hour. I pulled it out. I don't know if you guys can see. Now it's showing 202 on one half and 204 on the other half. What this putting it in the cooler, wrapped up in the cooler, is going to do is it's going to lock in all that moisture. So it's a good idea. Put it in the cooler, let it sit minimum 30 minutes. I know guys that will put them in the cooler and leave them in there for 2 hours. And they'll still be hot when you pull it out. It's not gonna cool off, okay? But I say at least 30 minutes. I'm probably gonna leave it in there for an hour. So we'll be back in about an hour.
All right, so brisket is right in there. It's been just a little over an hour since I took it out of the smoker into the cooler. So let's get it out of there. Right now, the internal temperature is between 180 and 185. All right, so see the jiggly? I don't know if you guys can see that. Let me bring you guys up in here closer. All right, watch. See how it's jiggly? I hope you can see that. Okay. Now, you can see the grain is running this way. Okay. So you want to cut it across the grain. Okay. Remember, this is a flat. This is not the point. When you have the flat and the point, the grain runs one direction, and then at the point, it runs the other direction. So you got to cut the point off and then cut it a different direction. But we don't have to worry about that because we don't have the point. So let's give this a slice. All right, so I'm gonna go right here. I don't have one of those fancy bread knives. All right, I'm gonna take a look at that. We've got our smoke ring. Okay, see that? Looks pretty nice. Let's take another slice. About a 1/4 inch. I'm gonna slice it about a 1/4 inch. I want to slice it without, I usually don't slice this way. Look at that. The juice. Look how all the moisture in there. Whoops. Look at the moisture in that. I don't know if you can see that, but look at that. Oh my goodness. It is, wow. Okay. Let me get some more slices of this. All right. Like I say, you want to slice it across the grain. Our grain is running this way. Definitely slice it across the grain. Okay. This is not the right knife to do this, but it works. Okay. I'm being careful slicing because I don't want it to just fall apart. All right, now there's a nice slice. Look at that. Oh, okay, here we go. And another slice. Oh, let's pick it up and see what happens. Oh, I believe that this is definitely tender. It definitely passes the bend test. Delicious. All right, let's take another slice. It's not tough. I'm just trying to be careful. I cut that one really thick. Let's take a thinner slice. Oof, look at that. All right, I want you to look at that. Okay? Look at that. Whoa. Juicy, it is moist. Oh my gosh. Woo. Okay. I've had enough fun slicing. Now I am gonna grab a piece. Just grab this one because it already started falling apart. And I'm gonna, oh, look at that.
it just falls apart. All right. Oh man, melt in your mouth, delicious. I'm telling you what, folks. This is how brisket is supposed to look. Look at that. Look at the juice just oozing out of that. That is brisket perfection right there. I'm eating another piece. It's like butter. It's literally like butter. I mean, look at the bark. Look at the bark on that. The moisture. I mean, you can see the moisture. You can see the moisture in that meat. You gotta try this. I'm serious. Follow the steps. I will put every step, start to finish, in the description underneath the video. Man, that would taste good on a flip-flop. I'll put it in the description, step by step, start to finish. This, I put this in at 11:30, so 14 hours. 14 hours is what this cooked. The first 6.5 hours, I cooked it at 180 degrees. And then I bumped the temp up to about 225, and I finished it off the rest of the cook at 225, okay? And I pulled it at 203, actually 204 degrees is when I pulled it. I wrapped it at 170, approximately 170, 171 degrees is where I wrapped it. Wrapped it in the butcher paper, put it back in the smoker with the probes, let it go. Once I wrapped it and put it back in the smoker, I never opened that lid on the smoker until it hit 201. As soon as it hit 201 degrees, I did a probe test on it. And I wasn't real happy. It should just go in like butter, like soft butter. It had a little bit of push to it, not a lot, but just a little bit. So I left it in there until it hit 204. I probed it again, as you see on the video. I probed it again, and it was just like pushing a hot knife into butter. That's how it felt. Pulled it out, put it in the cooler, still wrapped in the cooler, left it in there for an hour, pulled it out, and here we go. Perfect. I mean, literally, this brisket turned out perfectly. Okay. Nice smoke ring. Look at the smoke ring. Okay. Look at the smoke ring on that, okay? It's got a nice smoke ring. It's not huge. Like I said earlier in the video, I did it the very first couple of hours. The pellets in the hopper was hickory and applewood mixed together, but it was more hickory. And then on top of that, I put a 50-50 mixture of applewood and hickory pellets on top of that. Here's the other thing. I'm going to take a picture of how much pellets I used. 14 hours smoking that brisket in the Pit Boss. And you're going to be surprised. I could do another 14-hour smoke right now and still have pellets left. I mean, it is so efficient. It works so good. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, hold on. I got to take this bite. Oh God. That cayenne and my rub. Woo! Incredible. So, if you enjoyed my video, if it was informative, please hit that like, hit that subscribe button, subscribe it, hit the bell. So when I drop a new video, you get a notification to let you know that I've uploaded new content. If you enjoyed the video, punch that like button and leave me a comment, please. I can't even tell you how much I enjoy the comments. I just made an entire video on another video I've done that's had a lot of views and a lot of comments. I did an entire video just talking about all the comments and answering all comments and thanking people for the comments. I'm going to upload that here next couple days. But anyway, please, I love the comments. Leave me a comment, hit that subscribe button,
punch that like, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.